All right, we're in it. About 20 minutes after we said we were going to start, but had to sit here and talk about football for a minute. So fuck it. Like
Mm.
Matt said earlier, it's not like we have some field of 68 audience patiently awaiting us, but I'm sure some people will file in live on the Left Turn Cult Twitter, Sectator Media on YouTube. Uh, yeah, fun weekend in college basketball. Fun weekend in the NFL. Obviously, that'll be the talk of the town. But we're here to talk college hoops and the weekend that was, and terrible Saturday if you had a number by your name. Uh, some very
Yeah,
surprising results. We'll definitely get into those. I was watching at last night. Like there's some wild games at the end of last night. Like which we'll get into as we go on. But like the Holy War last night was insane. I didn't know if I was the only junkie staying up to watch that or not. But that was a wild one, and I was
Santa
sweating out.
Clara, Gonzaga also there.
Yeah, yeah. I had like that was like Gonzaga is just incapable of playing any defense, and Santa Clara also made like 18 threes or something ridiculous like that. So tough to win a game when that's the case. And then obviously we'll get to the game I was at pretty early because it was early, but that might have set the all time record for reviews in like the last second. Like might have been the longest final second of a game of all time. Like what the fuck was that? I mean,
Yeah, that's a
like,
tough scene there. They really almost choked that away,
oh
and
my god, they
they
did.
had. I mean, Georgia had that game going to overtime, but
Well, that
yeah,
corner three, like that would have put him in the lead.
yeah, that would
Or
have.
no, it would have tied it because I guess that was before they made the free throw.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, but
I
yeah,
think
they had
so.
that.
Yeah,
That was a good look on that corner three too. Like it wasn't a bad shot either.
yeah. I do not
Auburn's
think
just
Mike White's a great coach, but I was impressed. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I thought he would have gotten fired at Florida had he continued coaching for them, but seems to be actually building a decent program at Georgia, which I didn't think was possible.
yeah, that was a Cal situation where like he saw the writing on the wall and got out of there. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, we'll get into that. But like another thing at the end of that game was like for whatever reason, and I guess this is an indictment on Bruce, which I mean I guess if you want to knock him for something, I don't know what it is over the years where our teams have just always been notoriously bad at handling the press. Like we cannot get the ball in those situations and get it down the floor. And I don't. I mean, because it used to just be we have guards that couldn't handle the ball, and that's like where you used to think it stemmed from. But like that's not the case this year. Like we have talented guards who can actually handle the ball, and we just like could not get an inbound. It was insane. But
Yeah, and that's on the road also. I mean, you know, that kind of game was coming and that kind of finish without Janai. So I don't
it was
hold it
loud in
against him
there.
too much, but
yeah.
yeah.
It was loud in there. I give
That
Georgia
is
fans credit. There was a good contingent of Auburn fans. Obviously, I don't know like how it translated to TV, but like we had a good loud contingent. But it was also like the Georgia fans showed up. It was surprisingly like I didn't expect at Georgia like the fan support to be as like rowdy as it was, but like it was. They had a good solid contingent of fans. Like the students were lined up,
mhm.
wrapped around the arena 2 hours before the game. It was I was like I'll give the Georgia fan, but now like small rant, and I'm just like preambling a little bit to let people roll in, which I got 15 now, so I'll get into like the real shit in a second. But like, um, one of the dumbest things in the world, and it to me is people who wear like football jerseys to basketball games, like basketball jerseys to football games, and I swear to God, like there were a couple students in basketball jerseys, but like for every basketball jersey, you saw like 10 like Lad McConkey or Brock Bowers jerseys in there. I was like, like this is a basketball game, okay? Like you look stupid.
It's kind of
So
surprising because they do have Anthony Edwards playing in the NBA. You would think that he would be the jersey that they
I
go
didn't
to for
see a
that game.
single Anthony Edwards jersey, not one. Well, yeah, which is very surprising.
Tough one. Tom Crean would be devastated. Yeah.
E- every time like I go to see Auburn play home on the road, it's like there's fans, even NBA jerseys, not just college ones, who have like like Chuma jerseys, like for the Magic or freaking Jabari Rockets jerseys or Walker Kessler Jazz jerseys. Like those are all very common. Yeah, I didn't see a single Anthony Edwards jersey.
I've
Disappointing.
sort of like personally bought a few Purdue NBA jerseys, Jaden Ivey and Zach Edey, Caleb Swanigan when he was in the NBA, RIP. But yeah, it's strange not having, if you're going to go to a basketball game, you wear basketball merch.
I'd be decked out in Georgia football gear. If I were a Georgia fan, I mean, that's all you have to lean on, really.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're a Georgia fan, you could get what's his name? Dominique Wilkins throwback jersey. You could wear that to the game. That'd be a cool.
I don't think anyone there cares about the Hawks either. So I don't know if they. I mean, Georgia in general, I don't think they really. They're not filling that gym often, I don't think.
Nah, but yeah, I guess they're ranked or we're ranked. That won't be the case come tomorrow with back-to-back losses. But but shit. All right. I know we said start with. I don't want to start with Friday because I don't want to bury the lead here. So if we got people watching, I don't want to be like, all right, first game we're talking about is Boise State, New Mexico. So we'll get that one later. Surprising result there, and Indiana, Ohio State. I guess those are the main two of note we talked about Friday. But like I said, I think we should start off with good stuff and then kind of work our way through Saturday, and then we can go back and hit Friday, and then also hit today, mainly today, the Michigan State Illinois game. That was very entertaining. But I feel like the first game of the day and the big game of the day that everybody's going to want to start is Alabama 102. Kentucky 97. It was about what you could expect from that game. I don't know anybody who was looking at this matchup and didn't think it was going to be this kind of track meet high scoring game, and it's exactly what you could have anticipated. And yeah, I didn't get to see watch a lot of it because I was in the arena in Georgia, so I was on and off trying to watch it, and then once our game started, I shut it off so I didn't see the end. But I mean, it was no defense played in that building. Grant Nelson had a really good game, put up 25 points. Alabama looked good. I mean, they bounced back from their loss at home against Ole Miss earlier this week, and mainly the blueprint for Alabama seems to be if you're a physical defensive team that has the ability to slow them down and run them off the 3-point line, they're going to struggle. But if you don't have a strong defensive team and you can't get physical with them and get them off the 3-point line and get them out of their rhythm, then they're just 9 times out of 10 going to win a shootout with most of these teams they're playing. And I mean, Kentucky's a prime example, one of the best offenses in the nation. Kentucky's got a great team, but if you're just going shot for shot with Alabama, I don't think this Kentucky team with Mark Pope and not a lot of NBA talent has the talent to keep up with an Alabama and just a shootout. So credit to Alabama going on the road and getting a big win and bouncing back. It's one of the things I love about college basketball. It's just people forget so quick, and I guess it's a blessing and a curse depending on if it's a team you like or not, because everybody's after yesterday, is Alabama actually the best team in the country? Okay, they lost 3 days ago, so let's not forget that happened. But I don't know. Obviously, me talking about Alabama is never going to be a very unbiased thing. So whichever one of you wants to go first, I'll let you guys get to that game and your thoughts.
I guess I'll start. Alabama, they had a bounce-back performance. Mark Sears and Grant Nelson, which I talked about the other night. Kentucky just let them – they had a good offensive game. Kentucky, I mean, they matched them with their offense, but their defense clearly is not there as a team yet. And getting into their last 2 or 3 games have been shootouts. Mississippi State. Who else did they play? I forget.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah.
You talking
Just
about
like
Bama or Kentucky?
Kentucky.
I thought you were talking about Bama.
No.
Kentucky played A&M last week.
A&M, yeah. I think wasn't that a shootout too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like even teams without their best player, just Kentucky's not a very great defensive team. So Alabama found their rhythm, and I mean took over down the stretch. It looked like Kentucky may have gotten a win, but they started to let the game get away from them towards the end. I was kind of watching it halfway. A lot of those early games, some of the other ones I watched. I wasn't really watching Alabama Kentucky all that much, but yeah, it was a great
What game were you
Great
watching
offensive.
instead of Alabama Kentucky?
UConn and Creighton.
Got us tune in to see UConn's demise there. Yeah.
Interesting choice. But I've been looking forward to having Matt on, by the way, to just watch these two fucking like duke it out about UConn, because it's been a subtle storyline all year of Jacob just not being over the national championship loss.
I do like Matt's shirt, by the way. Boston Celtics. Go C's.
You better believe it. Yeah. Going back to back.
I got a San Antonio Spurs cup
Mm-hmm.
right here. I'm drinking out. Not a Spurs fan. Just went to a game there last year, and I own a cup, and I needed a cup to drink water out of. So we got the Spurs represented on the podcast.
There you go.
Shout out Stephon Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steph's having a great year. But yeah, this Bama team, man, that was the best team of the weekend, or best win, best team that I saw. This is why they have the highest ceiling, or among some of the teams that have the highest ceiling in the country, because of how well they shoot. When they're at their best, that is going to be a really, really hard team to beat. And Kentucky did not help. They played right into their hands. Played the exact style of game that Bama wants to play. But yeah, Sears at his best and Grant Nelson at his best. That's going to be a really, really tough team to take down now with Final Four experience and playing UConn the best of anyone last year. Still think Auburn's better than they are, but yeah, that team has probably one of the 2 or 3 highest ceilings in the country, because when the shots are falling, it's just a completely different game for them.
Well, the thing with Bama and Kentucky, is the question. Like you say, they have the highest ceiling, yes, but it's a stylistic issue where it's like especially when you get out of league play and you get into March, like you're going to run into teams that are like grind you out. And I mean, you saw it when they played Ole Miss, and Mark Adams is back there running that defense, and they're basically just running the Texas Tech playbook again there at Ole Miss. And it's like when you play a physical defensive team that can just run you off the 3-point line and isn't going to like let you play your style. We saw it when they played Purdue earlier this year too. I saw Jacob's eyes light up. Purdue mentioned, but
Yeah.
but like the
CJ
same thing happened when they played Purdue earlier this year, and it's just it's the same question for Bama and Kentucky. Is like, can they win? Can those teams win a game, especially like once you get to March, if they play like a strong physical grinder team that can really slow them down? Like, are they capable of winning a game in that fashion versus just a track meet? Either Alabama or Kentucky, because like I said, I think the same applies to both. You saw it a little bit with Kentucky versus A&M. I felt like their defense stepped up in that game, but that's my question with Alabama, and like I said, and Kentucky to a point, is like, can they win a game that gets slowed down and gets muddy? Like, can they weather a storm like that, or can they only win if they're just knocking down threes and playing at theirs? Can they win if the game flow gets away from the way they want to play?
So this did happen last year. They got pretty fortunate with their draw, as has been discussed. But they either ran into teams that they were a better version of, or that they just could not score with them. I mean, their goal is not to answer the question of what are we going to do when we play a grinded out team. They want the solution for them to be like, how is this team going to keep up with us? So it's going to be like a tempo thing. Who's in control of that particular game? Only a few teams probably can like get in the mud with them. Like Iowa State could. It would probably be like a Big 12 team, like a Houston or Iowa State that would be able to.
Like I said, you already saw a Purdue do it.
Yeah,
A Big Ten team that likes to like
Mhm.
get in the mud, slow a game down. And like you saw Ole Miss doing, like they're not. Ole Miss is not a replication of most of what you see in the rest of the SEC. Same with Tennessee. Like Ole Miss and Tennessee are different styles
Mhm.
of like way different styles than Alabama and Kentucky, where those teams will just slow you down and grind it out. And like I said, you saw it with Bama when they played Ole Miss, which like Ole Miss, like I said, they brought Mark Adams back and Chris Beard's there, and they're basically just like 2019 Texas Tech 2.0 this year, and they were really able to go into Tuscaloosa and take advantage of that. And like when that game was, Ole Miss played that game at their pace and was able to keep Bama off the 3-point line, and then Bama had nothing for them. Ole Miss took control of that game and wasn't giving it away. So yeah, I mean, like I said, ideally it's like if you're playing a team that's, and that's why I like Bama was, because Bama's just a more talented team than Kentucky. So Kentucky's like Kentucky doesn't have the horses to, like, when they're both playing at the same style and just playing at a rapid pace. Like, and you saw it at the end of this one. Kentucky doesn't have that top end talent you've seen Kentucky teams in the past under Cal have that can keep up with a team like that. Like this Kentucky team is just a different layout than what we've seen from them in the past, and they were like they just didn't have the talent to do it. And like it's the same reason I don't see Kentucky making like a crazy run in March, because like they're gonna run into that too. And it's like, and they're Kentucky's basically just, I view them a lot the same as Alabama and just a less talented version of them.
yeah, it's gonna depend on the matchup they get. I mean, they got very fortunate again with the draw and with, in my opinion, head coaches they had to go up against. They were just a step ahead of everyone until they got to UConn. It's still close, but ultimately that really helped them. And
Was
if they
the
get
head coaches a shot at Hubert Davis mainly?
yes, I think he would be working at Target if not for Brady Manick. So yeah, they were pretty outmatched in that tournament, UNC, and
They played them again this year, and the same thing happened, but worse, because this UNC team is not near as good as last year's.
Yeah, so that's what it's going to come down to, like who, if Bama gets an Iowa State or a Houston type team in their bracket, then that'll be something where they have to cross that bridge when they get there. But for now, they're playing really well. That's a huge win. And again, they only feel like they have to defend like marginally. Like if they get to a replacement level defense, they should be able to outscore whoever they play. So
that's why
that makes them dangerous.
Personally, as an Auburn fan, it's like we're a team built that I feel like if they want to play that kind of game with us, well, like we have the horses to go shot for shot with them, which hasn't been the case with Auburn teams in the past. But it's like, yeah, they're probably the two best teams in the SEC, Alabama and Auburn, and like and like this could come back to bite me if we do lose, but like I don't feel really threatened by them, because like if it like we have a good defensive team too, and if they want to play at our style, like we got one of the deepest teams in the country that can score with everybody. I believe we still have the number one offense at Kempom. I haven't looked this weekend to see if that's been updated, but like
No.
that's why if they want to play that style with us, it's like I think especially if Broom's in there healthy playing, like I think we can definitely go shot for shot with them, and we can also slow them down because we have a great defense too. So
I know Alabama is just a very streaky team, hot or cold. Auburn's more of a team that's consistent on the offensive end. They run the same thing. If you're Alabama, if Mark Sears and Grant Nelson aren't going, I mean, they kind of try to or just kind of get off their game, and the rest of the team follows suit. So we'll see how
Any
that matchup goes.
before we move on from this game, like any concern for Kentucky, or you think it's just keep it rolling?
No, I mean that's a team that it's an entirely new program, from the coach to the players. You know, back half of conference play, if they still haven't really figured it out, that could be a concern. But in my mind, they've overachieved from what I thought they were going to do at the start of the season. I did not see this coming. Yeah, they got their guy. Mark Pope's their guy, and
I said this on here. I hate how much I like Mark Pope.
I know, right?
Yeah,
he's great.
Hard guy to hate. Like,
yeah,
he's a good dude.
Yeah, so I think they're in a good place, talent wise. I mean, and again, like in a normal year, like if Kentucky played in another conference, this might be a very different discussion. But because how deep and how good the SEC is, their lack of not necessarily talent, but just I mean, they're just not as good right now today as Auburn, Bama, maybe Florida. So yeah, they're going to be a tough out for whoever they play. But yeah, right now, I no panic with that team. They easily could have won. They could have beat Bama. So yeah, I feel good about them going forward. But again, for them, it's going to be a matchup thing. Whoever they match up with in NCAA tournament play is going to determine how far they go in all likelihood. So.
You, Jacob, any concern for Kentucky?
No, they just got to find their defensive footing. That's the biggest question mark right now.
Yep, tend to agree with all of that. So I'll move on. Next game, Army 68, Boston Houston. No, I'm kidding. We will not discuss the Patriot League on this show, but no, real next game I want to talk about, Creighton 68, UConn 63. Surprising result there. It's a tough road trip for Creighton to go out there, go out east, and I didn't see any of this game, but they went into UConn and took care of business. It's very surprised to see how that one turned out. Let's see. Pulling up the box score here, Neal had 24. He had a good game. Kalkbrenner had 16. Yeah, just looking through here. Yeah, like I said, I didn't see much of the game, so I don't really have anything great to add on that one. But if you guys were able to check that one out, I will let you delve into it.
I know I kind of lagged out there, but since we're talking about the UConn Creighton game, I turned it on because it was a close game. Figured I'd turn that on. Creighton, I kind of knew going in they'd be a bad matchup for UConn because UConn doesn't have the big man inside this year that they did with last year. And Creighton's they've underperformed to what they've done or to what they were expected to do this year.
Well, they've really gotten it together. They were really bad at the start of the year, and they've completely. I thought at one point Creighton might just be bad, and they've especially since they gotten into the Big East, they've been a lot better. Because I was watching them early in the year, and I was like, this just might not be the year. But credit to McDermott for that. He's gotten it turned around there. It's a testament to the coach he is.
They played really smart basketball against UConn. I turned it on, and I don't think they turned the ball over very much. Kalkbrenner and I forget let me look up the stats for that game. Forget their name, point guard's name.
Steven
Ashworth. He didn't turn. He played an excellent game down the stretch. He just kind of played control ball. UConn's very much a press the pace type of team with Solo Ball and Diarra and Caravan. And they just didn't have an answer for Kalkbrenner and Ashworth.
Neal, Ashworth, and Kalkbrenner all played the entire 40 minutes, by the way. I'm looking through the box score here.
Oh, Neal, too. Neal. Yeah, I forgot Neal. He was the big scorer for Creighton. in
I
that
guess I
game.
don't dive into Creighton box scores that much. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a common thing, like how the, but like, yeah, they played, all three of them played all 40 minutes in that game.
I just don't think. Yeah, I don't think Creighton's a very deep team as they were the past couple years, but they played smart ball. So
Yeah, that was a
I
bad loss for UConn.
yeah.
That was not a good loss for them, objectively. They don't have McNeely, so that's not doing them any favors. But yeah, that's a game that they probably would have won last year. The staff and the sets offensively is not the issue. They just have not defended well, and late game execution, which they've excelled in since Dan Hurley's been the coach, has not been there yet this year. They had the Nova loss a couple weeks ago, where Caravan had the free throws and missed them. But they've not been great in those areas. So they need to get a defensive identity together pretty fast. They've been able to kind of get by with Sonogo and Klingon in the middle of the floor in the past, but they've kind of had to change that up a little bit. But yeah, perimeter defense has been poor. And yeah, the late game execution there, they need to figure that out. They've gone 500 before in conference play and still, they're fourth in the Big East and won the national championship, in 2023. So there's still hope for them to figure it out. The team has a high ceiling because they can score, but yeah, they need to really get their shit together on the defensive end, and that's a huge win for Creighton. They have figured themselves out since losing Pop Isaacs. Now they're getting a ton from Kalkbrenner, ton from Ashworth, who feels like he's been there for years, and it's that's an impressive win for them. Their seasons, they were kind of teetering on the bubble. Now that win probably puts them more into being decently secure at large. A couple more big wins in conference. So yeah, it's a huge win for Creighton. Not a good loss for UConn. So they need to figure that out. They'll get McNeely back and they'll be better. But yeah, not a great loss for them.
Big East feels wide open as a whole this year.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
There's not really any great teams in that league, but there's a lot of good, solid teams. I don't have the standings pulled up right here or anything.
No, and I mean Marquette really failed to distance themselves as well because Xavier dropped them, being a 10-point dog. Yeah, so
they almost lost to DePaul and then dropped to Xavier. And
yeah.
Creighton really needed that win on Saturday to, like you said, keep themselves in the NCAA tournament push, like in the conversation for to get in, with their struggles at the start of the year. But
yeah, I mean they got their signature win now, so I mean as long as they don't step on too many landmines in the Big East, they should be solidly in the field.
Yeah, have the Kansas one as well from earlier, so that was big for them.
All right, you guys got anything else to add on that one, or I'll move on to the next one?
I think that was it for me. All I have to say.
All right. This is a game. Like I said, I wasn't a lot of these games I wasn't able to watch because I was out at a game, obviously. But UCF led a lot of this game, but Houston was able to come back. I figured this would be a sleepy spot for Houston. Like I said, noon tip on a Saturday at the Bounce House, like that, which is like that's a real environment there. Like that's cool football
as well. Like, yeah.
Football is those fans, their main sport.
Those fans show up. Like they have a real fan base. Like they're not just like it's a real test, and it's a foe they've played in the American for years, obviously before they came to the Big 12. But yeah, UCF gave Houston all they could handle. But Houston held on. 69-68 was the final on that one. Jawan Roberts had 21. He really led the way for Houston. Obviously disappointing loss for UCF. They've been a sneaky team this year, and they can score it. They got some athletes, and they weren't able to hold on there and win. I don't know what exactly. Like I said, I wasn't able to see it, so I don't know how exactly they fell apart down the stretch. But I mean, like kept checking, and they were leading a good portion of that game, and kind of fell apart there at the end. But I mean, I was all like, UCF's a double-digit underdog there, and that's just a classic trap spot. And like credit, like there's a lot of those obviously, like Auburn's in the same situation. Like, you're gonna have those spots on the road where like you're gonna get all you can handle from a team you're better than. And you just grind it out however you can, and Houston was able to do that. So
Yeah, this was the other game I was kind of watching of those early games. I flipped back and forth a lot between it and the UConn game and a little bit of the Alabama-Kentucky game. But UCF really should have won that game. They played great defense the whole game, besides the final possession. Houston kind of mounted a comeback there towards the end in the second half, but UCF kept pushing the pace, even with their best player having an off game. Houston got extremely lucky on that final layup that UCF just didn't guard the inbounds well at all. UCF had scored a go-ahead bucket with 6 seconds left or something. I forget what the time was. But Houston didn't have much time, and UCF just didn't score. But their fans were rocking the place. I know last year they had upset Kansas in their arena. I forget what their arena.
They did, yeah.
They almost beat Houston there last year too.
Yeah. I think we've lost Matt. Oh,
there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
We talked about it off air, by the way, but real quick, if anybody's watching, wondering Matt's background, he currently has Rob Lowe with the NFC logo on the hat. So, hilarious pull there, but I share that mindset. Fuck the Chiefs, fuck the Bills. We're rooting for whoever comes out of that NFC showdown next week.
Yeah, Houston scares me, man. I know UCF played really well, and that's a tough place to go. But Houston has a tendency to let some of these teams hang around more than they should. Juwan Roberts is awesome, and they always will have those types of players. But I'm kind of, always nervous picking them to advance deep in 10-8 tournaments, and they sold all their luck to, get that one useless bubble Final Four. But yeah, the way they play, it's not totally Virginia-esque, but it is teetering more towards Virginia than it is not, and that stuff always scares me because it's hard to see them blowing teams out unless they're just playing out of their minds on defense. So yeah, that was kind of what I took away from that game. Most of these games that Houston's going to play in conference are going to be wars. So, and yeah, as you said, UCF should have won. They were the better team throughout the game, and Houston's just a better coach, more experienced team, and came away with that win there.
No, one player that impressed me for Central Florida was their freshman center. I think his name is pronounced Mustafa Thiam. I'm not sure on the pronunciation on that, but he had 18 points. He dominated in the inside early in the game. Towards the end, I think he just hit a wall, but he had 18 points. Hit a three. Their usual Keyshawn Hall didn't play great for UCF, so I think that kind of impacted. But he did hit the go-ahead bucket with 10 seconds left, and yeah, that's all I've got on that game.
Don't worry about the pronunciations, by the way, Justin.
Yeah.
I practiced so I didn't have a repeat of Friday. I practiced saying Yakachunas to myself.
Yeah.
On the drive home today, so I finally got that one down. That was a struggle. Cody had to post the actual pronunciation in the chat on Friday when we were talking about Illinois. But I got it down. I did. I practiced saying that to myself about 20 times until I got it down. So, we're good when we get to Michigan State, Illinois. We're good on that one.
Yeah.
Well, next one. This will be the one I'm able to definitely contribute to the most, because it's a game I was at. Auburn went into Athens and got a 70-68 win over Georgia. 2-point win. And what's crazy about this game is Georgia led 2-0 and that was their only lead of the game. Like, we hit a three after that to go up 3-2, and that was Georgia's only lead of the game. But they hung, like, we jumped out to a 24-8 lead, and Georgia was able to fight back after that early storm, and they kept it close the whole game. Like, it was really a battle. Like, it's not the it's the kind of game you would look at and think it was like back and forth the whole game, but it was really like Auburn led the whole way. It was just Georgia fighting and battling back and staying in it the whole way. And obviously, no Janai Broom, and that's 2 wins against ranked teams this week without him. And I hate to dog all my own guys, but so Dylan Cardwell went down and had to miss a chunk of that game. They put him back in for the last play, but his quad was cramping up really bad. His jersey also got torn. They had to get him like a backup jersey to put in. And Jaheim Hudson was playing a lot of those minutes when Cardwell was out, and Jaheim Hudson was rough. I was not happy watching him play. He could not get a rebound. He was getting abused in the paint. Foul, like I think he had 4 fouls. Jaheim Hudson had me about ready to rip my hair out watching him play. And thank God Cardwell's not hurt too bad, because if Broom was down and then Cardwell went down too, we'd probably be in trouble. Because when Dylan Cardwell was like, we needed him in that game to stay in it, or it was going to get away from us. And Georgia was able to stay in it till the last minute because he had to miss a lot of time down the stretch in that one. But awesome win for Auburn. Like I said, we had a good fan turnout there on the road in Athens, and the Georgia crowd also showed up. It was kind of like a nice, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, we took over the building, and like fans always love to say that in college sports, like, oh, like we took over the building. It was all our fans. Like no, it wasn't. Like, the Georgia fans showed up. They were loud, but we had a nice contingent of fans that made some noise for us too, and was able to at least neutralize the environment a little bit. So it's always nice to have a traveling fan base that'll help you in situations like that and give you some energy rather than just feeling like it's everybody in the building against you. But Tahad Pettiford had an awesome game, 24 points off the bench, hit 5 3-pointers. Chad Baker-Mazara didn't have his best game. He had a 3 early, and then that was his only points for a while till the end of the game. He started knocking down some shots. But I mean, that's what was most impressive about this game, is a lot of our guys didn't really have their best games. And Todd Pettiford he's not really, I don't feel like he's mentioned in those national discussions about the best freshman this year, but Tahad Pettiford is a freaking stud. Like, today, for the first time, I saw him popping up on NBA draft charts, which I hope doesn't happen, because I would really love to see him come back next year. But yeah, Tahad Pettiford is freaking awesome. And Georgia fought. Asa Newell had a good game, 16 and 10. Blue Kane, that guy's a stud, and they also love him there in Georgia. A lot of that, I don't know if they were handing them out to people or people just brought them, but like a ton of people and like all the students had like actual like blue canes that they held up during the game. So that was pretty cool. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that was like a giveaway or people just went to Walmart and bought a blue cane and brought those to the game. But either way, no, it was a fun game, and I'm very happy to see Auburn grind out a top 25 W on the road, and at least our reign at number 1 will fight on another week. But whoever wants to go first, I'll let you guys get into that one.
I watched a little bit of this game. I was out at a restaurant, and I watched some of it. I know I texted you when Dylan Cardwell it looked like he planted his knee and like was having trouble walking. So it looked kind of bad on the TV. As someone who's torn his ACL before, that kind of looked almost like a knee injury, but thankfully it wasn't that bad.
Actually, I saw him after the game. Like, I asked him, like, you good? What happened? And he said, like, yeah, it was just cramps. I'm good. Like,
okay.
So, confirmed. Got to ask the guy myself. Like,
it looked bad on TV. But yeah, Georgia. At first, I was like, they're not going to stay up when you got out like to 24-8. But Georgia came back. They battled back battled the whole game. I think they're just a youthful team. Didn't have much, couldn't keep up with Auburn at the end of the game physically, but they did stay in there, and they almost had it. If they had made a couple more baskets, it may have been a different outcome, but that's really all I've got. Auburn continues to sneak by without Broom out there.
Sneak by.
I mean, it's been close the last couple games, other than Mississippi State. But yeah, once he's back, they'll be at full speed. So
hopefully this Saturday. They've said the whole time 2 games. Like that's they said at least 2 games. So we don't have a midweek game this week. We play Tennessee on Saturday. That's obviously a big game. College game days in town. So if he can go, ideally that would be the game they like to get him back for, because that's a big one.
Yeah, record number of reviews as well in that game in the last couple minutes there.
Oh my! Yeah,
that was out of control.
Now that we're talking about that was. Have you ever seen the final 1 second of a game take longer than the last second of that game took?
Yeah, that was wild.
1 second, and they freaking. So it was inbound. We didn't get the inbound. They got a steal, and they kicked it out. Corner 3. He missed the corner 3, and then going for the rebound, they called a foul on Auburn, but the clock was at 0, so the game should have been over. They review it. They put 0.6 seconds back on the clock. So obviously down 3, makes the first, misses the second to try to get the putback, and when he missed the second, Georgia pulled down the board, but then it also looked like game was over. Or no, Auburn pulled down the board, lost it out of bounds, so game was over for the second time. Then third time, so they review it again. And all these reviews are taking 5 minutes each. They're taking their time on these reviews. They put 0.3 seconds back on the clock, so Georgia had a chance for an inbound and a tip in. And to Georgia's credit, they executed great. I mean, obviously the shot didn't fall, but when you got 0.3 seconds on the clock and your only hope is just throw it up and hope you get the tip in, and that was They ran that play about as perfectly as you can run it in that situation. It was a good look, and it just rimmed out.
Yeah, they got it to the best player on their team with a really good opportunity. Yeah, it's a great look, and he probably hits that 8 times out of 10. But
which I don't like how we defended that situation.
No,
because how do you even let them
with
get the
0.3 seconds? You're not gonna that's immediate. That's the fastest catch and shoot release you're going to have to come by, which they don't have. And literally all you have to do is just guard the rim and just make sure that, the lob potential is out of the question. And if they beat you on a jump shot with 0.3 seconds, you allow it.
I don't even think that's enough time for a jump shot.
It probably isn't. For most people, not named Steph Curry, it's not enough time. So literally just guard the rim and call it a day. But somehow that did not happen.
They got a clean look in that situation, which I like. I don't like how they defended
just
that.
Totally unacceptable. Lost their minds on that last possession. But
it's the same the board on the missed free throw. It's with that 0.6 seconds left on the clock. It's why are you trying to bring down the rebound? Just bat the ball up in the fucking air, and the game is over.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't even know why we were trying to bring down the rebound to give them the chance and tip in. It's when there's that little time on the clock, if you see the ball coming your way, literally bat that fucking ball out of the gym, and the game's gonna be over. You don't need to bring down the board in that situation.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking. That last couple seconds there, and but yeah, aside from that, that is a big win without Janai again. So if they can, that's 2 big wins in conference without him. If they get him back for that Tennessee game, that's going to be huge. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel watching Tennessee this weekend, which we'll get to. I feel pretty good about that game with or without Broom.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tennessee looks rough. I didn't get to watch that one, but they were down. They rallied late. I was keeping up with it, and then yeah, we'll get to that one. But yeah, no, that was a great win. Like, very happy. If you told me going into the week you lose Janai Broome, if you told me last Saturday we wouldn't have Broome all week this week and we'd beat two top 25 teams and one of them by 22 points and one of them on the road, I'm taking that outcome every single time. So should still be at number one this week, I guess. There's, I don't know. It seems like the Duke fans and then also the people who don't watch college basketball and just like Duke are like, Duke should be number one. Like, so I don't know if there's. I don't anticipate that we're going to beat two top 25 teams and then drop to number two somehow.
Nah, there's no chance, especially with how Duke played yesterday.
Yeah.
Speaking of Duke, Dickie V's coming back next week.
Yeah, I'm excited for. I mean, I think they're just running out of guys. They're just like I don't know. If he really wants to do it, I'm good with that. But sometimes watching game day with Lee Corso, I'm just like, man, this is like sad.
Well, it's a tough situation with like Corso and with Dickie V, and obviously like Dickie V beating cancer. Like, it's like, what are you gonna tell Dickie V? Like, congrats on beating cancer. You don't have a job anymore. Like nobody's gonna do that. Like,
Yeah.
so, like if he wants to come back and do it, you have to let him do it.
Thing with Corso is that's like the reason he stayed alive as long as he has. That's what his reason is, to get out of bed in the morning, So.
And I think Kirk Herbstreit would quit if they. I think Kirk Herbstreit would quit if they ran Corso off. Like,
that's pretty much the case.
As long as Kirk Herbstreit's there, like, he's not letting them touch Corso. Like, that's his guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like, very happy to see Dickie V making his return next week. What's it? Is Wake playing Duke? Is that what the matchup is? Or, I know it's Wake versus.
I think that's the one.
Yeah. Got to put Dookie V on a Duke game in his return, obviously. So, but yeah, no, we're happy for Dickie V, and we're happy for the Auburn Tigers. It's been a fun year, man. Like I said, we had a couple years ago when we were number one, but that team had holes. We knew it all year and ended up getting exposed. But this year, man, it's exciting times. It's not often that you're like, holy shit, like these motherfuckers are good. Like, you don't get teams like obviously I know Jacob had it last year, and like you don't have these teams that you root for a lot that are just clearly the best. And
yeah, that's like I've been waiting for that for so long. Like, just a Purdue team that was dominant, clearly a Final Four team all year.
All right, next game I have pulled up. Kansas 84, Kansas State 74. I don't know. Kansas State sucks. Like, we don't need to talk about this game too
Coleman
long,
Hawkins. I'm glad to see Coleman Hawkins' downfall. I just have to say it. The clown prince.
At the under 16, I think it was like 18-0. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, like, I think he's near Jack Sawyer territory. He's not quite there. He's just like a notch below, but he's just that whole program. They had such momentum when Tang took that job and they went to the Elite Eight, and it's just been downhill since. So yeah, I mean, the only disappointment, I guess, from that game, Kansas did not cover the 15 points. So, but other than that,
do you think Tang wishes he took that Arkansas job looking back? Or?
Yes.
Because it's like Arkansas is not faring much better, but obviously it would have been a different layout there.
The resources you'll have at Arkansas probably trump the resources you'll have at Kansas State. But yeah,
Kansas State
he's there now.
They're fucking terrible. I mean, I guess they fought back. Like I said, it was 18-0 at Thunder City. So they did fight back and keep this thing close. But yeah, it's rough. Like you said, they had so much momentum after that first year with Tang, and it's one of those head scratchers where you just look at a program and you're like, what the fuck happened? Like,
yeah, they got Tyler Perry from North Texas last year in portal. That didn't really, I mean, the season as a whole didn't really go great for them. And then obviously, for some reason, they took Coleman Hawkins on their team. And that's just been a mess. Big 12 is good. It's not SEC good, but still, they are.
Whoa! I know somebody who would not be happy to hear.
I
you
know,
say
yeah. Yep.
Like slow down there, pal. You're about to have somebody break through your window and be like,
I know,
what did
right?
you just
say? Yeah. Well, don't worry. Baylor just lost at home to TCU today, so that's.
What? I didn't even see that. Like,
I saw that. I was going to discuss that when we got to the Sunday game.
I was driving home for 3 hours before we did this, so like wow, I missed that. Holy shit.
Yeah, Baylor. They got outscored like by 10 in the second half. Gave up 42 to TCU and lost at home. So they probably will not be ranked going into the week here. They were holding on for dear life at 25. So.
Wow, at home too. I was told it's just a road thing. They might just be bad.
I know. They might just be not very good.
Kansas though, I'm still not overly impressed with this Kansas team. I haven't been the whole year. They haven't lived up to the hype. Fuck Hunter Dickinson still. He had a good game yesterday.
Screw him and AJ Storr. Screw both of them.
Yeah, but they lost at Iowa State this week. I don't know. It's another year with Kansas where it's like they come in with all the hype in the preseason #1 and won the transfer portal, and you kind of buy into it, and then it's just like all year it's just like they're good, but like, do you like? Is there any fucking world where you see this Kansas team making a deep run in March or anything?
They have a shit ton of talent. Guards are good, and it's just almost as if they just recruited the talent and then just put it out there and then expect it to work.
Like a big guy on the Kansas, like, to me, is like when Flory Badunga chose Kansas over Auburn, and we're all like, fuck, he's like one of the top players in the country. And like, dude's like, I don't even think he would be in the rotation if he was at Auburn right now. Like,
yeah,
he's not playing over Broome or Cardwell, so.
Yeah, I mean, if they do figure it out, talent-wise, they are really good. But, yeah, they just haven't. And, I mean, a lot of the Kansas fan base is kind of in the blame game with Hunter Dickinson because he's the common denominator there, kind of. But, yeah.
At Michigan, too, so it's not just a Kansas thing.
They don't defend very well. They are not, like, offensively, they have so much talent, but they just haven't truly been able to reach a form that indicates that they're getting to the second weekend of NCAA tournament yet. So maybe they do, but right now that has not been the case. They are looking like a second round exit, probably objectively, and then we'll see if they get it together after. But right now, just haven't seen the best from DeJuan Harris or AJ Storr or Zeke Mayo, or Hunter Dickinson, frankly. So,
by the way, Chicago State won a game by 16 yesterday. What? How? Why?
I mean,
are they allowed to do that?
They're in the Northeast Conference, so I mean,
NEC basketball is horrible. It's notoriously bad. That whoever wins that conference probably will be in Dayton.
16th,
so.
Yeah, it's just like I was scrolling through the game and I bet on Lemoyne. Like I saw, like anytime I can get a team as a single-digit favorite against Chicago State, it's a hammer play. Like I don't care. I don't know anything about Lemoyne. I don't even I honestly I don't know where Lemoyne is.
It's actually it's located in Syracuse, New York.
Oh, okay.
They played UConn. They gave UConn trouble in the first half of a game this year, actually.
Well,
even though they're a 6-win team.
In
I just remember
Chicago State,
Yeah.
I didn't. Chicago State winning a game by 16. I was
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, that's shocking in itself.
Yeah, but yeah, we will not spend any more time than necessary
Yeah.
discussing Lemoyne and Chicago State, or any Northeast Conference basketball for that matter.
Let's,
Don't think that's
let's
worth it.
yeah. Let's move on
Talk
to the
about
next.
Merrimack another day.
Yeah.
Texas Tech 70, Arizona 54. I knew this game was kind of ratty. Like I liked Arizona coming in like against the spread. They were 5, and I kind of came off of that opinion the more I thought about it. And yeah, Arizona opened up Big 12 play on fire. Like looked like one of the best teams in the league, but they went on the road here and got beat by double digits by the Texas Tech team that's like kind of flying under the radar. Like I don't think they're a great team, but I think they have a solid team. They gave Iowa State all they could handle last week, but they're a good team, and that's a great home environment there. It's tough for anybody to play there. You saw Iowa State struggle last week. You saw Arizona go down this week, obviously. So yeah. And yeah, Caleb Love, 3 for 13, 0 for 5 from three. So talk about guys that underperform. With kind of the Hunter Dickinson route we were just discussing, Caleb Love is. I don't know. I've never been a fan of that guy since he was at North Carolina. So.
Caleb Love is firmly in LinkedIn.com territory.
Get a job,
But Caleb
bro.
Love has like almost a Chris Davis at Auburn kind of pull because he retired Coach K and beat Duke in the Final Four. So he's kind of in a weird spot. But he's been bad. And Arizona is a terrible matchup, or Texas Tech is a terrible matchup for Arizona. That's just not a style that they're comfortable playing. They have not been the best road team either. But yeah, that's another team that's super talented, well coached, Arizona. But yeah, I mean, the back half of their conference play schedule, that'll tell a lot about them. But they could, they're teetering towards like 6, 7 seed maybe, or like a pesky 8 seed for someone to have to deal with. But
yeah, they had a terrible non-conference, so like they
were bad. Yeah, the seeding's not going to be favorable to them unless they, win the Big 12 regular season and conference tournament. But yeah, other than that, Texas Tech, they're good. Caslin's a great coach. Does not get talked about nearly enough. And
he's part of Scott
he's
Drew's,
part of the Scott
Nick
Drew
Saban,
tree. Yep.
Nick Saban's the Nick Saban
yep.
of college basketball.
And he had some really good North Texas teams that were robbed from ever playing the NCAA tournament. But yeah, that'll be Texas Tech will be a tough out for someone by the end of the season. But yeah, that home atmosphere is second to none. That is probably the rowdiest gym I've seen when Chris Beard came back to coach against them. So yeah, that's always a fun atmosphere there at Texas Tech.
North Texas in 2021, they're pretty good. And
yeah.
then he was good at Arkansas State too. Before that, he turned North Texas into a power. What?
I was gonna say JT Toppin had 20 and 16 yesterday. I also want to make sure I mentioned that. Great game for him.
I had this game picked out. Those picks we did, this is one I was on the money about. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Arizona for a while, and I pivoted on that one before the game started.
I'm never choosing Arizona to win anything of note ever again. I think I picked them to go deep when they lost to Princeton.
No, seriously, me neither. I think the Princeton year I had them winning the national championship, and last year I had them in the national championship last year. So no, I'm with you. I've never. They're
it's been that way for years. Ever since Sean Miller was the coach, they've always been a huge disappointment at some point.
Well, this is a good
It's been rough,
transition.
and I've been duped several times. So yeah,
Talking about guys that dupe you and teams that dupe you and you fall for and they let you down all the time. The next game I had pulled up, like since you brought that up, I just had to stay with the flow because it's a great transition. Marquette, Xavier 59, Marquette 57. 'Cause yeah, Marquette definitely falls in that same category we're talking about with Arizona. So I was like, I don't think there is a better transition than this if we're talking about teams that I just simply will never believe in March ever again. Marquette and Shaka Smart are most certainly near the top of that list.
And that honestly, that kind of shocks me this year because they started out on fire to start the year. They have great guard play. They have all the athletes there to be a deep March team, but they've just struggled the past few weeks. So I don't know if they're going through a slump or if it's sign of a bigger issue that's on Shaka Smart. It's kind of the same issue he had at Texas, never getting over that hump as
And
a
I mean,
coach.
Cam Jones has just like eliminated
Yeah,
himself from the National Player of the
yeah,
Year discussions. Like he
he's
was
just shooting
in the
himself
mix
out.
there for a while. That dude, like, yeah, he's
Hi-
done. Like I don't know what his
Him,
odds are now, but
all those guards on Marquette are like the size. They are just like if if you if they had everything together, they'd be unstoppable. You know, Cam Jones, David Joplin a guard? No, he's a forward. Never mind. He Stevie
he's a big
Mitchell.
dude.
Yeah, yeah. All those guys can shoot. Um, I know I saw him
Well,
when
they could
Purdue.
not.
Yeah,
Yesterday
yeah.
they
I
were
don't.
not making anything.
at home too, it's just like
Yeah,
that's a fucking terrible loss.
yeah. I
Like,
don't.
They
That's
were
ugh.
not the
favored by
same.
10. Yeah, they
That's
were
not the
favored by
same
10,
team.
and that's just
That's not the same team that played Purdue. Purdue, they could not miss. They hit like from way outside, like just hit everything pretty much.
Xavier was not
Yeah,
good either.
yeah.
Like that's
I don't.
like people are gonna see Xavier and be like, oh, like think of the Xavier. Not no, this Xavier team is not good. Like
they've
I'm
been
like
competitive. Like they had UConn played them really tough. That was a good game. UConn beat them in overtime, and then yesterday, that was a huge win. And they did not play a great game, particularly. It wasn't as if they just went in there and imposed themselves all over Marquette. It was probably more Marquette couldn't make any shots. And then down the stretch, they had pretty much that game within reach that they could have pretty easily sent the game to overtime or won. And they were rough.
every time I watch that Xavier team, it feels like it's just like here, Fremantle, you figure it out. Like
Yeah,
it's
it was a rough one to watch. If you're a
no.
Marquette fan, that was a tough one. Guards were horrible. The last possession, especially. Stevie Mitchell just goes and tries to run through everyone to assumingly get a layup, but couldn't get anything off. And that was not a good loss. I mean, everything I said about UConn, that's like amplified by 10 with Marquette. That was a pretty bad
The Johnnies
look
are
on
going to win the
them.
Big East. I'm telling you now, the Johnnies are going to win the Big East. That's the coach I trust the most in that. Well, I actually misspoke. Dan Hurley is in that league. Sorry. So I don't want to say the coach I trust most in that league, but I don't know. I think they got St. John's has an experienced team. I trust Rick Pitino a hell of a lot more than I do Shaka Smart. So like, I'm calling it now. Saint like I don't know what the odds are, so I don't know if that's like a hot take or whatever. But like, it was my pick before the year. I picked them to go to the Final Four. I'm picking them now. St. John's is going to win the Big East. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, they're good enough to do it. The conference is pretty wide open. I would still take UConn gun to my head, but I mean they certainly could, and Pitino's still like a top 5 coach at least in the sport. So that team could probably win the conference. But yeah, just it's games like yesterday. Why, like, how do you pick Marquette? And Kolek really calmed a lot down for them the last couple of years there. And now without him, Cam Jones is not Tyler Kolek. So they're struggling with that. But yeah, it's going to be a matchup thing for them. But yeah, yesterday did not inspire confidence because we talk about matchups. Xavier's should not have been a tough matchup for them, and they struggled. So,
you guys got anything else on that one? Because I got another head scratcher to go to after that. Stanford 72, North Carolina 71. I put it as one of the title games of this stream, so it's like definitely like this North Carolina team's just fucking bad, man. I said it like I was talking to some Auburn fans. I might have said it to you guys too. Like when people are stacking up their resume, I'm like that North Carolina win is not going to age well because this is like it's not going to be like an impressive win come March because like this if it wasn't fucking Tar Heel Blue and NC, we wouldn't be fucking talking about this team. They're not good. They shouldn't be a tournament team. I don't think they're going to because there's not that many resume building opportunities left in the ACC, and like they're gonna have to at least get Duke once if they want to have a solid case for the tournament. And like that, they're not fucking beating Duke how they're playing right now. Not a chance. And it's Stanford.
That game's always weird. That game always brings out the best in North Carolina. So if they were going to win a big game, it would be that one.
I think this is a lot like the North Carolina team we saw after the national championship when they came back, and it's just like they just had issues. This is just a bad team. Like I'm ready for like, and I don't hate North Carolina, but they're like I'm tired of turning on shows and like here we are on our show like doing the same thing. But, like I'm tired of fucking hearing about them. Like they're just not good. Like and
they're not a good team. Stanford outplayed them.
How do you let Stanford fly across the country in the middle of a day and play them midday on Saturday? They just came from across the country because of this insane scheduling dynamic and like not a good team, and you lose. Like what? Like
shout out Kyle Smith. He definitely outcoached Hubert Davis
for sure.
You had Washington in the tournament. You'll definitely have Stanford in the tournament very soon.
Is Hubert on the hot seat? Like, how long is he living off beating Duke twice 3 years ago? Is like at what point is there a discussion to be had about him? Because
I mean, if he misses the tournament 2 years in a row, I'd say.
Well, they made it last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, is that what?
Well, yeah. I mean, last year that should have been a year for them where I mean they should not have struggled, but. Here we are. I mean, and they were beat by a good team, but yeah, I mean, it just that seems to be the case for every non-Duke game they seem to have. But yeah, I don't know when that conversation starts. But yeah, the retiring Coach K definitely buys him who knows how long with that program. Until then, it'll be like Wes Miller just standing by, waiting for them to get rid of Hubert. So.
I mean, that just awful loss yesterday there to Stanford. Like, somebody talk, I'm choking.
Yeah. That's, I mean,
it's a tough one. It's
continue to see it.
It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. Oh my god, man. Yeah,
I feel bad for my buddy who's a UNC fan and a Celtics fan. He had a rough night last night. Oh yeah, and he likes Tennessee too. So.
Well, I don't feel bad for it.
Yeah, I don't feel about the Tennessee
Celtics fan. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. All right, so I'll ask you guys right now. Like, so like I said, I put it in the title here. So like, well, but does North Carolina make the tournament at this juncture? Like, do you think they rally it and get in, or are they done?
I think they're done.
It's too early to tell. they still have those 2 Duke games.
But that's the
and
problem. That's all in the ACC. Like that's all. Like
well, and there's a
what?
world that they could, in theory, get a 3rd game against them. And I mean, the ACC is not obviously a good conference right now. So there is like an automatic bid is on the table for them. So I would still say
I don't think it is. I mean, like
it's a little early to tell right now.
Is there just? But is there any? It is early for sure. I mean, we like obviously it was kind of a similar situation a few years ago, and they made that run to the national championship. But what about this team? Like watching this North Carolina team, and it like makes you think that like they can go to Greensboro and win 4 games in a row. Like, I just don't think it's on the table for them. They're just not good, and it's like if that's what it's going to take for them to get in, it's like I'm not buying that.
No, I'm not picking them either to mount that kind of run. I don't think they have. I mean, the team that was almost national champions, that on paper still was a legit group. And their seeding as well, kind of, they were fortunate to get to where they got. But yeah, this year I mean, they really have nothing they can really lean on.
No, RJ Davis is not that guy. Like,
it's tough, and it's really just him. So no, I mean, I don't think they will. I think it's too early to say they definitely won't, but yeah, they will not probably unless.
Well, to me, it's the thing. It's like they were this bad in like. So here's the thing. This is why I feel okay saying they won't, and I understand what you're saying, but it's like here's the thing. They played this bad, like as bad as they did in the non-conference. They got no big wins in the non-conference. The only thing they had to hang their hat on was that Dayton win, and like that's not aging well. They beat UCLA. That's not aging well, and so like their 2 biggest wins at this juncture do not look as big as they looked a month or so ago because those teams are not great and they're only going to continue to fall. So, like, if those wins don't so your biggest wins in the non-con aren't aging well. You don't have that many resume building games in the ACC other than playing Duke because like after Duke, like who's the next highest team in the ACC that would even be like a quality win for them on their schedule?
Well, there's not one right now.
Yeah, it's like who?
One does not exist.
Like seriously, after Duke, like who's the next highest team in the net? Is it SMU? Like who the fuck is it? Like
it's probably Clemson or Wake. Or
Clemson,
Louisville.
Yeah, like possibly. Clemson doesn't look great either. Like
no. So yeah, I don't think they'll get in, but yeah, I mean, just whether they beat Duke or not, they're still not a very good team.
But most brackets you look at still have them in, and that's why I'm like, what am I missing here with this team? They don't have the big wins. Like I said, their biggest wins are aging well, and like they don't have that much in front of them other than Duke. So I mean, obviously, if they can fucking go out and beat Duke once or twice or 3 times, like okay, like that'll help them a lot. But like when you're in a league this bad, like you see it a lot with like the Mountain West and the other mid majors. It's like the whole league is basically not great teams. Like you don't have that many chances in conference to pad your resume with how bad the ACC is. That's why I'm like, I just don't see the path for North Carolina unless they go out and kick the shit out of Duke or something.
Gonna need that, and they're gonna need Dayton and UCLA, especially. Although UCLA is like Mick Cronin might resign here soon, so.
I've seen the Statue of Liberty twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an amazing rant, by the way. Like,
yeah,
amazing rant, but also just like Mick Cronin's like turning into the whiniest bitch in all of college basketball. It's just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
I think that still belongs to Fran McCaffrey. I think, although Mick Cronin's been giving him a run for his money this year.
Well, Mick kicked the shit out of Fran on Fridays.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thing with North Carolina is I'm just like, they don't have a lot in front of them other than playing Duke. They're not beating Duke. They don't have their big wins look worse and worse by the day. So it's like, yeah, I don't really see the path for them. I think they're just gonna fall by the wayside, and then I don't know, go to the NIT. Oh, would they even accept a bid to the NIT?
Oh yeah, they go.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll do the Jacob special. And did you have something else?
I was just gonna say, I think we've spent enough time on a mid UNC team.
Yeah, I like how my whole point is like, why are we talking about this team? And I spent more time talking about them than anybody, so I played myself with that.
Yeah.
But next one, like I said, the Jacob special. Purdue 65, Oregon 58. Big game in the Big Ten. Two contenders to take it. Really, like, because we had one today too, and it's like, I feel like we kind of, other than Michigan, like they're the other good team, but like we saw 4 of the best 5 teams in the Big Ten play each other this weekend. So I thought it was a really big weekend in the Big Ten to see who's for real there. And credit to Purdue to not a fun game to watch.
No,
by any
oh
means,
my gosh,
but
that
they
was
go
the
on the
worst
road
game to watch.
to go on the road and get a big win in Oregon. Like, obviously the travel schedule that Mick Cronin fucking bitches about didn't affect Purdue too much because they still went out to the West Coast and took care of business.
Grinded out 2 wins. Oregon yesterday, that was just like one of the ugliest games I've had to watch all year. But
fucking awful. I was watching it.
Yeah.
I was driving from Athens to Atlanta after the game ended. I had that one on my phone. I was like, "This is fucking terrible." Like,
yeah, I'm thankful to TKR. He made every single free throw as a 50% free throw shooter. He had a big game. First half we kind of played crappy. Second half we picked it up, stretched it out towards the end. Oregon didn't really have any answers. We shut down Jackson Shellstead for the most part. He was only 3 of 8 from 3-point range. Nate Biddle was big for Oregon, but he honestly had kind of some dirty plays out there.
oh my god!
No, he about committed murder twice. The one he was going up to play, he should have got a flagrant 2, honestly, because he went under a player and just like pushed him.
I didn't see this, Matt. Is this as bad as he's saying, or is this just like Purdue State media?
Tad over dramatic, but I understand.
Because he had a couple dirty. There was like 3
ejection
plays.
Is a little harsh.
Well, he probably would have got a flagrant 1 because I think he already had 1 flagrant 1 from the first half, and then he got another one later on for head contact as well. I forget who it was to, but I mean he played a good game. Hit a couple big shots for him at the end to keep it within striking distance. But other than that, tough win for Purdue. Shout out to the Pacific Northwest Purdue fans. We took over the building. You could hear the "Let's Go Boilers" chants and "Whose House? Our House" chants at the end of the game. Did it in Washington too. Big contingent out there of aerospace engineers. But a good game. Good tough win to stay in the Big Ten race. I think it's a 3-team race between – 3-team race between us, Illinois. Well, actually 4-team race. Us, Michigan State, Illinois, and Michigan. Those are the 4.
I'd still throw Oregon in there too. But
Wisconsin. Well, that's really good to know in case Purdue gets sent to Spokane for NCAA tournament games, that there's a big contingent of Purdue fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I have not particularly been impressed by Oregon once this year.
I was. The Alabama game.
That's about the only time that I've been like, okay, here we go. But yeah, Shellstad's a nice guard. Yeah, they have a good team. It's just I have not. I mean, perhaps because I've seen them in conference play, and in conference play is not the same team that I've seen in the non-con. But
I mean, that whole because they won the Players era
Yeah,
and what $2 million or whatever the hell it was, but like so and
that
they were
desperately
very
needed.
yeah, and they were very impressive in that tournament. That's why I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
definitely
I
impressed
should
by them in the
clarify.
non-conference.
For conference play, it's been a lot of like not good, not great. Kind of like what's going on here. Their Penn State game was kind of surprising, and then that gets followed up with Purdue coming in there and taking it to them. So not entirely sure what to. And again, it's their first year in the Big Ten, so trying to give them a little bit of leeway. I do think that's a harder adjustment in basketball than it is in football. But that being said, they still have a good amount of talent, and that's a game that they should not be looking how they did against Purdue. But yeah, I would include them in the Big Ten title race for sure. I wouldn't say that just on paper alone, they're a good enough team to win it. So
One team we did not mention in the Big Ten title race. We'll do this game next. Wisconsin 84, USC 69. Wisconsin's been that like they're a sleeper in the Big Ten because they've been on a roll. And like when Wisconsin's knocking down shots, like they kick the shit out of teams, and like there's not a lot of teams like that in the Big Ten that can just run you off the fucking court the way Wisconsin has been so far. Like
that was a bit shocking with how USC's been playing, and also
yeah, a
consider
lot
the
of people
fact
were hopping on the
that,
bus, but
that Wisconsin won that without John Tonji scoring a single point. It was all from John Blackwell, who's a good guard. He was in pretty good last year for Wisconsin.
dropped 28.
Yeah. I know everyone was pulling their hair out with AJ Storr transferring, but I think Wisconsin's a better team than they were last year.
I got talked into not. I had it on my list and didn't bet the Wisconsin. I think it was -1.5, and I liked it. And I kind of talked myself out of it because it's like road game, West Coast. We've seen some Big Ten teams struggle taking those trips this year, and I fell for it and it was like maybe I shouldn't bet this one, and that's my fuck. I wish I bet that one game of the day.
yeah, that's one of those I felt pretty good about Wisconsin going into that one. Because as you said, they've been mowing teams down of late here, and I mean, really, them and Illinois are the two that if you give them just an inch, yeah, they will. They have that capability, which is not always common with Wisconsin teams. But yeah, they went in there and beat I would say like decent at worst USC team, pretty good. So that was. I'm not entirely surprised that they won, but the first half they were in complete control. USC kind of made a push later, but yeah, Wisconsin just dominated them start to finish there. So that was impressive. Thought they would win, but did not see the margin coming.
Next one, Vanderbilt 76, Tennessee 75. I'll come back I gotta pee, so I'll come back and give some thoughts on this one. I'll let you guys take over.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. This game, I watched a lot of it. I watched the end of the game. I had it picked out. I said Vanderbilt is going to give Tennessee a game. I figured they may even win. I didn't know if Tennessee would have a push at the end. Vanderbilt led for a lot of the game, and Tennessee came back at the end, made a push. Absolutely insane finish. I think Tennessee got caught looking ahead to Auburn, especially living in Tennessee. Nobody talks about Vanderbilt. Their basketball has been kind of down,
which is surprising because if they got that program going, they really could be dangerous.
I know what's his face wasn't a great hire at all. Stackhouse. I was never a fan of that hire.
Looked great though when he coached.
Yeah. Mark Byington, he's a great coach from James Madison. is just a more consistent guy, program builder, built a program at Georgia Southern and James Madison, and now he's building one at Vanderbilt. That we were just talking about sort of the game. I think Tennessee got caught looking ahead to Auburn, honestly. I had this one picked out. I thought they'd give them a tough game. Didn't expect Vanderbilt to lead for most of the game. But that end of the game was crazy. That comeback. Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I didn't see the comeback. I had kind of like tuned it out. I thought it was over, so I didn't pay any mind to it. And I was like, they lost by one.
Vanderbilt missed the free throw. Or Tennessee fouled. Vanderbilt missed their free throw. Then they accidentally.
So how did this comeback happen? Just to set this up, like, because I they were down double digits pretty late. Last I looked, so
I know Vanderbilt just kind of took their foot off the gas and was kind of trying to run timeout. Is kind of what happened. Let me pull up the end box score. And they hit a couple. Tennessee just hit a bunch of clutch shots. And Vanderbilt just kind of got stagnant in their offense. There at the end, Tennessee had a shot to tie the game. Vanderbilt blocked it. Of course, Tennessee fouled after that, and they missed the front end of a 1-and-1. Vanderbilt did. And then Vanderbilt accidentally fouled on the next possession. Tennessee made one free throw, but Chaz Lanier missed the final free throw of the game to lose the game. So that was a crazy end to that one. Absolutely chaotic.
Yeah, Tennessee worked really hard to come back and then kind of choked it away once they finally did. So that was tough. I do not think very highly of this Tennessee team. I think any team like that, the top end talent is not there. Zakai Ziegler is not like putting the fear into most good teams in the country.
No, Chaz Lanier was not Dalton Connect either. No matter how much, because people tried to make that analogy when they were winning a lot early, like, oh, they just replaced Dalton Connect. Like, no, Chaz Lanier is not Dalton Connect. He cannot score the ball like Connect did, and like, when they need to.
Their bigger wins are not looking as impressive now. Like they crushed Baylor. That obviously is not aged great to this point. They had that huge Arkansas win where they manhandled them, and Arkansas looks horrible. So yeah, Tennessee's going to get theirs. We're going to find out how good they really are coming up here. But yeah, and then obviously that Florida game was shocking. Like Florida at that point looked as if they couldn't defend anyone. And then they held Tennessee to like a football score. So, yeah, that was telling. But yeah, we'll see how good they really are coming up here.
Against Illinois, they kind of got lucky too. I know they kind of just had a weak non-conference schedule. I know they really shouldn't have been the number one team in the country. And it was so annoying hearing Tennessee fans to be like, "Oh, we're number one in baseball, football, and basketball." And it's like, okay.
Oh, it fucking annoyed you. We were the ones pinned in behind them for a fucking month that we should have been number one. So, yeah, that's quite fucking annoying.
I feel like
it's just like, anytime you can get to number one, it's just like a nice achievement as a program. And it's like, obviously, we're there now, but there's still like, we should have fucking been there a month ago. And it's quite annoying to see, like, we were pinned in behind Kansas and Tennessee, and to see those two teams now clearly should have never been there. The AP poll is a fucking outdated joke of a way to determine the top teams in the sport. Like, it's not fucking relevant to like what happens in the postseason at all. And it's like, half these fucking writers who have a vote are guys who just like watch football and just get handed a vote as
Yeah.
well. It's fucking dumb, and it needs because like obviously the two teams who spent a lot of time at number one, you see now like they're should not have been there, and then they just hang around all year and because well they were number one time, so we can't drop them that far.
But
I don't know.
yeah,
I see nobody else is as annoyed by the AP poll as I am, so I digress. But anybody, anything else on that
I,
one? Or
I'm good. I think I've covered everything. Just that Tennessee is. I don't think they're gonna. They'll be at about a fourth or fifth. I think they'll be fourth or fifth in the SEC standings. Come to the end of the year, I don't think they will be like a top seed. They'll probably be 3 or 4 maybe at max. They're mostly reliant on their two big players, Igor Milic and Chaz Lanier, and when they aren't going, they kind of are just stagnant on offense.
all right, looking through, Florida kicked the shit out of Texas. We don't need to spend any time on that one, but
Mm-mm.
of note because they were a top 25 team that played, so I guess throw it in there. But next one of the big upsets of the day. Another one I put in the title. The Mountaineers. We had a storming in Morgantown. They grind out a 64-57 win over Iowa State. Very impressive win for West Virginia. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a spread. I fucking love WVU plus 6.5 going into that one. I was feeling good about that. They were honoring Jerry West there yesterday, so that was pretty cool. They had the throwback uniforms. Those were fucking sweet. Um, awesome win for West Virginia, and you have to give a ton of credit to Coach DeVries and what he's building there
Mm-hmm.
because like that's going to be a solid tournament team. They're building quite a good resume. Like they should be solidly in there at this point unless they just implode going down the stretch. And what's crazy about it is like they've done most of this damage they've done. They had a great non-conference and they get a big win here against Iowa State. They've done it all without their best player the whole time. Like Tucker DeVries
Mm-hmm.
has been out for a while. I don't know when he's coming back or what the situation there is, but awesome win for West Virginia yesterday to hold down the home floor and take out Iowa State and honor Jerry West. So that was cool. Shout out to the Mountaineers. Big win
And
there.
great underrated college basketball fan base too. You can't count them out at the arena. I didn't see it, them upsetting Iowa State, but they did it. So shout out to them and Darian DeVries, who had a great team at Drake the past couple years, and now he's getting West Virginia back to where they should be, like when Bob Huggins was in his prime.
I saw a tweet yesterday that said Bob Huggins loved West Virginia so much that he got a DUI to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, I admittedly did not do my homework on what was going on, but I did not know Jerry West was being honored or was Throwback Uniform Day. I liked Iowa State going into that game just because of how well they had played, but yeah, give West Virginia credit. Not a fan of their athletic department, but yeah, they've done well.
Where does I've talked to you before? You don't like West Virginia. Where does that stem from?
I don't know. All the so West Virginia is kind of like almost like an extra Pennsylvania school because it's like an extension of Pittsburgh almost. They have the rivalry with Pitt. I've never been a fan of the university or most of their teams. I despise the Pat White and Steve Slayton and those teams. I did not like Dana Holgerson's teams. And that Orange Bowl beatdown that they had, that kind of peaked for me. I was not a fan. And then same with Bob Huggins, just the track record of those players there. Ironically now, one of the guys I never really liked is now one of the best coaches in basketball. So it's cool to see. I'm kind of coming around a little bit. But yeah, just never been a fan.
Who's that in reference to?
Joe Missoula,
Oh, yeah, okay.
the town.
I was thinking
Mm.
You know,
college.
watch the town
I was just wondering what we're
24/7.
talking about here.
Yeah.
Nah, man, that was awesome. I was watching that. Like, I watched most of that game. Like that the crowd was fucking electric, and the Jerry West stuff was awesome. Like that's what, yeah. Like when I knew it was Jerry West and they were wearing those uniforms, I was like, they're gonna fucking get up for this one. So that was one of my favorite picks of the weekend. I'm happy to I got to feel a little smart for a second and that one hit. But yeah, awesome win for West Virginia. Like I said, it was quite the Saturday to be a ranked team. Scrolling through the games, Cody, when he made the picture for us, like advertising this, he put Bethune Cookman beats Mississippi or beats the Delta Devils as like the headline of what we were talking about. So yeah, Mississippi Valley State is comically bad, but one of the best Twitter accounts in all of sports. Shout out to the Delta Devils. Better days are ahead. Arkansas, I don't even want to waste time talking about them anymore. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
Matt. I don't know. Actually, yeah, Matt, this is your
They're not
first
worth
time
my
on here.
time.
No.
This is your first time on here this year. You're a Cal guy, so I just at least need like to hear like the spin zone for Cal on this season. But they fucking
Cal's
suck.
the greatest recruiter of all time. That cannot be disputed. I do think at his apex, he was a great coach. Unfortunately, right now, it is not looking good. The conference is stacked, and his team is not up for it. They are just objectively not a very tough team. They're not a disciplined team. They're bad defensively. All those Cal teams were minimum. They were really tough. They rebounded well. They defended well. They had good guards. This team is not that. And
Big Blue Nation has to feel so vindicated.
yeah, I think they do. I mean, now we'll see. It, won't matter unless they win something. But yeah, it's been rough. It's been a rough go. And the talent, I would not say, is a huge issue because they have it. So it's hard not to put this one kind of squarely on Cal for how they played and some of the results. So yeah, they're gonna need some serious good fortune in the rest of the conference play here. They're probably gonna need to win the SEC tournament. But
that ain't fucking happening.
Yeah, NCAA tournament appearances off the table with them. They just need to start. And the recruiting is still going well for them. So, yeah, they really just need to focus on putting together a good half and then completing like one good game before they start talking about anything else. Because some of these results, they're just inexcusable across the board.
Next game. Oh, this one's for Jacob. I'll throw it on the chart since I know he'll want to talk about it. But ETSU went down to Birmingham, got a big win in the SoCon over Stanford. Held Stanford to 60 points. Anytime you could do that, that's an impressive effort. So 65-60 ETSU. I'll definitely. I know Jacob will want to talk about that one, so I'll give him.
I know.
His,
that was going to be one of the two mid-major games I talked about, but as an ETSU fan, I was impressed with how we won that game. Just like a minute into our game, our starting point guard got a pretty serious head injury. Our leading three-point shooter, shout out John Buggs, hope you're doing good. But we grinded Stanford out. I don't think this Stanford team is the same as last year. They're first in the conference, but we played great ball. Brooke Savage, he's really, really great defensive coach. Upset Stanford got a win on the road. It's the first home loss for Stanford in 28 games. It was one of the top, I believe, the second longest win streak in the country, or home winning streak in the country. and it was just an impressive win. Mekhi Johnson had an insanely clutch shot with like a minute left, under a minute left, and we just held on. Stanford had some crazy shots too. There was one absolutely bonkers shot. We had played a great defensive possession, and they just threw a basket up from like half court almost, and it went in just randomly. But we played with limited minutes and foul trouble. We beat Stanford, so hopefully we gain some momentum from that.
Do you have anything on ETSU Sanford, Matt?
Not particularly. I have not followed the SoCon overly close, but that was a surprising result, I must say. Holding buckyball to 60, that's a big deal. So, yeah, I'll start to dive into the SoCon further here pretty soon. But that was surprising. That was a result that caught my eye for sure.
Should be a fun state of the Bucks this week.
Yeah, it will be.
It will be.
It will be.
All right. Next one to talk about. One of the best games of the day. Fun game to watch last night. Mississippi State 84, Ole Miss 81. That was a great game. Overtime, back and forth. Wild for the way Mississippi or Ole Miss even forced overtime. And yeah, that was a good one. That was a fun game. Beard's team kept it close on the road. They came off. I mean, it was kind of like a letdown spot for Ole Miss coming off the big win on the road at Alabama, and then you go on the road and Starkville and play your biggest rival. Is a big letdown spot for Ole Miss, and it wasn't really. I mean, they lost, but it wasn't really a letdown at all. Like bounce back win for Mississippi State. Ole Miss fought all the way. Riley Kugel and Keyshawn Murphy both played great games for Mississippi State to help lead them to victory. But yeah, great win for Chris Jan's squad, and yeah, they came off the big loss at Auburn, and they definitely needed a bounce back because that's the biggest thing in the SEC this year is like you're going to go on the road and have tough losses, and such a loaded league, you can't let it spiral when you have those losses, and that's the prime spot for Mississippi State. Like you go on the road, lose big at Auburn, it's fine. Like you need to bounce back, and they got a huge win over Ole Miss to make sure they kept the bleeding at a minimum. But 84-81 was the final there in overtime. Really fun game. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, this is a great game. I didn't watch much of it because I was watching the Lions and Commanders. But yeah, great bounce back win for Mississippi State. Riley Kugel had a great game off the bench from Mississippi State. Jermaine Brakefield played good. Sean Padelia and Morrell as well for Ole Miss. Just a rivalry game. One of those game. It's going to be close. Probably no matter how good the teams are. Ole Miss and Mississippi State. This is probably their most relevant they've ever been in basketball in the same
first
season.
Time they've ever played each other as top 25
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
Especially crazy because they've been playing this rivalry forever. They have never played each other both ranked.
Not well known. The schools more known as football schools, not really basketball powerhouses. I think that's just the coaches they have now. Chris Beard and Chris Jans, both great coaches.
They both have their guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of if they can keep them.
Yeah.
Like that's what it'll come down to for those schools. But like for now, both of those schools have their guys, and like they're rolling.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive for Mississippi State because after that Auburn game, Auburn really exposed a lot of flaws within that team. And I thought that Beard was going to come in. That's a really good Ole Miss staff. I thought they were going to come in and just kind of apply a similar game plan and try and expose Mississippi State in some of the same ways that Auburn was able to. But give Chris Jans a lot of credit. That's a huge gutsy win that I I mean, they outplayed Ole Miss for most of that game. Ole Miss was able to force overtime, but they were the better team. Mississippi State was the better team, and that's a huge win for them, defending home court in that game. So I still think Ole Miss might be a better team, but yeah, Mississippi State was a better team for sure yesterday.
All right. Yep, good win for Mississippi State. Next one. Fuck, my page just went. Duke Boston College. I just had my page up to say the score and I lost it. But Duke Boston College. Boston College was scrappy in the first half.
Mm-hmm. They kept that game closer than any how would I've blanked on
it was a 23-point spread, so that's what it was.
Yeah.
I thought for sure, I was like, okay, maybe, because that was a big deal. Those ticket prices were really expensive. That was considered the Cooper Flagg homecoming game. He went to the Celtics game Friday night, kind of was enjoying his time being back home. And then I was like, man, this is prime for Boston College. Get hype, run the 23-point cover play. That did not happen. First half was looking great, and Duke just buried him in the second half.
And Duke struggled there, like in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's always
there have been some years where they've laid some eggs at Boston College. This was not one of them. A lot of those Duke teams did not defend as well as this one. So yeah, that was business as usual for Duke yesterday.
Main reason I brought up Duke BC, obviously another great game for Cooper Flagg, 28 points. Do you guys think the National Player of the Year race is over? Like, do you think it's Cooper Flagg? If Broome comes back Saturday or not too long from now, do you think Broome can get back in it? Obviously, it's probably between those two. I don't even know who else you would bring up at this point. But, or do you think that race is pretty much done and set?
Unfortunately, yeah. I think that'll probably be Cooper Flagg running away with it because the ACC stinks. He'll have a highlight package every night of something that he did that was crazy. And yeah, Auburn's probably going to lose a couple more games in conference because the conference is so good. It's not going to be Janai's fault, but yeah, I mean, it's when you're going up against someone with Cooper Flagg's hype with the Duke brand, it's going to be, he's up against it as is. And it's kind of the same thing with the Travis Hunter Heisman stuff. Not that Travis Hunter totally didn't deserve the award, wasn't a great player, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing. I think, Janai brings a ton of value to that team, but not a lot of people are going to recognize that, especially when they've won these couple games without him here. So that'll probably be held against them. So yeah, I would say Cooper Flagg's a pretty good. He's got that locked up now, I would say.
All right. Scrolling through here. Not many more games to talk about Saturday. UNLV went on the road and got a big win at San Diego State. We don't need to dive into that game, but that's one to note. San Diego State kind of sputtering this year. They look good in the non-conference at points, but definitely not the same San Diego State team we've seen in past years.
Yeah, I've been crushed by transfer portal, sadly.
Yeah.
I think I have
go ahead.
I have a couple of mid-major games I want to talk about before we get to the one last big upset of the night. The game that was on CBS Sports Network before ETSU Stanford, it was a crazy game. Dayton and Loyola Chicago. They went to overtime. I was kind of passed out, half asleep watching that, and it went to overtime. In absolutely insane end of the game, Dayton threw a lob pass to score with like a second left in the game. So that was one of the crazier games of the day. Also in the A10, you had George Mason beating George Washington in 2 overtimes. SoCon, there's another big game. Chattanooga beat Furman. So that was the second biggest game in the SoCon on Saturday. But yeah, other than that, I think that's all I have for like mid-major games I wanted to point out.
Gotcha. Texas A&M took care of business against LSU. Main thing to note there is Wade Taylor, the fourth return. Kind of a weird situation there where nobody really knew like when he got hurt, like what he was, what was hurt, how long he was going to be out. It was kind of like a weird game to game thing. No, like they didn't really put out any updates what was going on there. But he came back Saturday and they got a 68-57 win against LSU at home. So it's the main thing to note there. The Holy War was freaking crazy. I had Utah and I was sweating that one out. That was, I don't know if any of you stayed up and watched that one last night, but that was a fun one.
Yeah, Gonzaga had most of my attention, but that was a fun game to watch. Anytime I would watch bowling between Utah and BYU. So yeah, that was a fun game.
And before we talk about Gonzaga, Santa Clara, other notes in the West Coast Conference since they dominate the late night. St. Mary's is fucking kicking the shit out of teams. They did it again against Pepperdine yesterday. I mean, that's the best thing you can do in the West Coast Conference if you want to solidify an at-large. Just fucking step on everybody's throat. Like St. Mary's is fucking knocking teams out left and right. So they got it going again. And then kind of like a spot I knew was like a good spot to bet in this game. I had San Francisco, and they took care of business against Oregon State. Oregon State coming off the big win against Gonzaga. Naturally, you knew it was kind of going to be a letdown spot for them, and San Francisco took care of business there. So figured I'd throw out those two real quick. But yeah, Santa Clara 103, Gonzaga 99. Yeah, I don't know what you think of Gonzaga coming out of this game because it was more Santa Clara just shot the ball out of their fucking minds. So like anytime you make, I think it was 18 threes. Anytime you do that, it's gonna be tough to weather that storm. Like what a fucking interesting result there.
Santa Clara's good. I would definitely in Gonzaga's defense, Santa Clara's a good team. They played a real non-conference. They have one bad loss on their schedule. I think North Dakota State beat them. But other than that, they've been in every game they played. They have not been blown out by anybody. And yeah, I mean, that Gonzaga win is going to do wonders for them going forward. And Gonzaga they need to guard. Just no way around it. They've got to play some semblance of defense. Haven't done it so far. But yeah, Santa Clara, watch out. They are a KenPom tournament team, I think. They're in the top 60 at KenPom. Yeah, offensively, they are a juggernaut of a team. And
Tyree Bryan, he could not fucking miss. Like,
anytime you're hitting that many threes in a game, you're going to win. That's just like, turnover margin in football, pretty much.
Tyree Bryan had 35 and hit 7 3-pointers.
Yeah, that's
could
outrageous.
Not fucking miss.
The West Coast Conference has some good teams this year, and then none of them, I think Gonzaga's kind of having a down year, so it's anybody's race right now.
Yeah, I don't even think it's not a bad Gonzaga team. It's just I think they're closer to the rest of the West Coast Conference than we've seen in years past. St. Mary's is just beating the shit out of everybody. Obviously, Oregon State's in there this year. That was a solid performance they had. Santa Clara is good.
San Francisco, Washington State
is good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of that league is better than it's been in years past, and I think Gonzaga's not bad, but not as good as they've been in years past. So there's a lot more room for volatility in there. But yeah, you guys got anything else to add on that one? That was like you said, that was a fun. The late night last night was a fucking fun between the Holy War and that one. It was a fun. It was
West
a fun
Coast
late
Conference
night.
after dark. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun late night of, I guess, in the Big 12 after, because that's BYU Utah being a Big 12 matchup is just outrageous to think about still. But yeah, that was Yeah, that was a fun. Those two games were very fun watches last night. But yeah, I guess we shall move on. I guess I said we'll hit on Friday after we talk about Saturday because I didn't want to bury the lead. But Friday, we don't need to. We've already been on here almost 2 hours, so we don't need to dive too deep into these games
Yeah.
because we still got at least one more big one to talk about for today. But so Indiana got a win on the road at Ohio State. Great bounce back win for Indiana because I mean we were shitting on
Mike
Woodson here
Woodson
on.
needs that one. Yeah.
Yeah, he
That
needs
was a
that one.
Job.
must win for
I
them.
mean Umar Ballo like had seemed like he had just fucking quit.
Checked out. Yeah.
Like and I guess Woodson ripped his ass a little bit and like he seemed like he woke the fuck up on Friday. So Indiana needed that one badly to stop the bleeding. So I don't know. Maybe Indiana can sneak their way into the tournament, and Woodson can save his job for another year.
I don't know.
Just-
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Depends on who's writing the checks there, man. That's gonna. Yeah, they're gonna need to get in and probably
They already
minimum
dropped
win a
the
game.
fucking ball because they should have fired him last year and went
Yeah.
to
They-
Dusty. Because
they
Dusty was
chose-
fucking walked there.
They chose to pay a bunch of athletes in the portal, just random pieces. They didn't really build a team, I would say. Ballo, he had a great game Friday, but he's not been worth the investment, NIL investment. I could have
Well,
told you
who
that.
knows if he's gonna
Yeah,
be up
yeah.
for the next game? Like,
Yeah,
not sure.
last year, I watching him last year on Arizona. He just didn't seem like he was. He's just kind of concerned with putting up his points and going home.
So another Friday game I just wanted to mention, like one of the wildest stories in college basketball I've probably been talking about too much this year, but it's just like so fun. It's like the Gottlieb situation in Green Bay. And like they had a double digit lead and lost by fucking like 25. Like to Robert Morris. I believe Robert Morris went. I looked at one point in the second half, and they had outscored Green Bay 33-5 in the second half. I think it was. The Gottlieb, they lost again today. They kept it close. The Gottlieb situation is just outrageous, hilarious.
Yeah, has not
There's
worked.
no way that guy gets a year two, right?
Well, I don't know if he has a buyout, what it is. I don't know what that situation is. I mean, if I were Gottlieb, like I don't know why I would want to keep coaching if you got the radio gig going and you have job security with that. But yeah, it has not worked.
Well, that's like the wildest, like, and we got 48 people watching. And, like, the amount of people I like bring this up to who have like no idea what I'm fucking talking about has like surprised me because I'm like Gottlieb is like a pretty big name, like national radio.
Yeah, he's like a
and
B-list radio personality.
And it is a national sports show. Like he talks about it in this, like he's still like very active on Twitter, like tweeting about the NFL and college football and the NBA and like whatever's fucking going on. Like he's still very online. He's still hosting a 3-hour radio show every day and coaching college basketball. Like it's like absurd. Like it would be like if Shannon Sharp like was on First Take and coaching a college football team.
Yeah, or like if Russo was coaching St. John's or something.
Yeah. I feel like I know Green Bay. This whole situation this started because Green Bay had got their coach hired away. Sundance Wicks, I believe his name is, got hired away to believe Wyoming, I think.
And Green Bay is not like a bad mid-major program, which is just like, why would you like?
I think they were just
do this to yourself. Like
they have some bad institutional problems. I do know that. They've made a couple good hires, but in between, they've made like horrible ones. And I think they were just trying to hit it like a home run, try to do like somehow get a media attention and just kind of like get their name out there somehow. But
Yeah, they saw the Deion Sanders
Yeah,
stuff with
yeah.
Colorado, and they were like, "Here we go. We have this of our own." The problem is that they should never have let him agree to
Yeah.
continue doing radio.
No,
That
it's
just,
they were
yeah,
playing Milwaukee, who's their biggest rival, and like it was when the Belichick North Carolina stuff before it was official was happening, and he's like tweeting about like how he has like scoops on Bill Belichick that like he's gonna like talk about on the
yeah,
radio. It's like 3 hours before they're getting ready to play their biggest rival. I'm like, hello. Like,
yeah.
what the
His
fuck are you
assistants
doing?
must hate his guts for all the film work they have to do and all the game planning because there's no way he has time to do all of it himself.
No, it's insane. It's like I said, like it's one of the craziest stories in college basketball this year, and like I wish it was getting more attention than it was. Like the most attention it's probably gotten was when Adam Schefter.
Well, and
When,
yeah, and my question is, what is he going to be like on Radio Row at the Super Bowl or something? Like, what's going to
yeah,
happen there? Like, is he going to New Orleans and then flying back to coach Horizon League games? So,
just
yeah,
insanity.
it's a
Like,
mess.
just
It would
can't
be
believe it's a real thing that's happening.
it would be one thing if he was like a well respected, he gives good insight. But it's Doug Gottlieb. He's a shock jock, and that he's not prepared at all for the job. So
Yeah. Well, they fell to 2 and
yeah,
17 on the year today. So great job, Doug. Great job. And he said, I remember at one point he was like, "Just wait till Horizon League play starts," and it's like, all right, well,
We're here.
yeah, it's not going well. One of my favorite bets of the year is just fate. Did not work today. Green Bay actually covered today,
Yeah.
but I've just been fading all year. Like lock it in. Whoever they're playing, I don't even look to see who they're playing. I see Green Bay on the schedule. I take the other team. So it's failed twice in the last 3 games
Mhm.
now. So
Mhm.
maybe they're turning a corner a little bit. But Friday was another one. I was like, damn, it's fade Doug over, and it was successful on Friday. Yeah, and then Boise State went into the pit and got the shit kicked out of them by New Mexico. That's the last one I was going to bring. I don't even have the score up or anything. I don't know if any of you want to touch on that one, but yeah, Boise State's
Yeah,
a good team. Obviously, it's tough to play in the pit. I certainly did not anticipate Boise State going in there and getting absolutely throttled like they did.
I figured New Mexico would win, but I did
Yeah.
not expect that score. But I another one from Friday too. UCLA throttled Iowa. I did not expect that after how UCLA has played as of late.
Yeah, that's where we got the maybe one of the best press conferences of the year after the game. I've seen the Statue of Liberty, and he called it like the Eiffel Tower at first. It was like the Eiffel Tower. I mean, what? No, what's it called? The Statue of Liberty. Twice in the last. I was like, well, one of those was a non-conference game you chose to play, so relax. But yeah, that was hilarious. But yeah, that's about all for Friday,
Mhm.
Saturday. I guess got one or two to talk about
Yeah,
today of note, but Michigan State 80, Illinois 78. Very fun game.
that was
Enjoyed
back
watching
and
that.
forth.
Yeah, enjoyed watching that one this morning. I just got a pop up ad as I'm trying to read this box score with Mark Andrews dropping that pass again, which is just insane. But let me X this out. Yeah, great game there. I'm just gonna say Yakachunas' name, even though he didn't do anything today,
Mhm.
He
just
fouled
because.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, tough game. Played 8 minutes, 5 fouls. Tough. But yeah, I did at least master how to say his name because I was kind of embarrassed when I was stumbling over it on Friday on the show. So I'm at least going to get that in. But yeah, that was a fun game in the Breslin Center. Illinois jumped out to a lead early. Michigan State fought back. Good second half. Holloman balled out. Yeah, Michigan State's good. This is not like the teams we've seen the last couple years for Michigan State that are just ugly like rock fight. Like no, this Michigan State team is good. This is probably the best team Izzo has had there in I'd say since 19 when they went to
Yeah.
the Final Four.
Yeah,
Probably the best Michigan State team since then.
they're a physical team.
Does
I will say
Izzo have one more run in him?
maybe.
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
see. We'll see.
absolutely. If, they get that kind of effort game in and game out. And yeah, that's the one area that they will probably try to exact over those SEC teams if they see him in NCAA tournament play is the physicality. That's one area where they'll probably be able to expose some of those teams.
I do know Illinois had a lead for a lot of the game, but Michigan State. I do know what loomed large there at the end was the technical foul. It was kind of controversial. I believe it was on Brad Underwood. Um, it kind of threw them off, and that's what basically gave the game to Michigan State in the middle of a Illinois scoring run. But Michigan State's a tough team. They are going to be a tough out down the stretch.
You got anything on that one, Matt?
I wasn't surprised by the result of that one. Yeah, I mean, I think if those two teams played again tomorrow, Illinois probably beats them. Illinois is a better team than Michigan State. But yeah, this is Izzo's best team, hands down, in 5 years. I could totally see that group, either winning the conference tournament or getting to the second weekend of NCAA tournament play. But yeah, it's a good team. That's a good, tough, physical group. They defend hard. So yeah, that's just the kind of team that Illinois just seems to struggle with, being more of a finesse team.
All right. And then last three games, and I'll just name off all three of these, and you guys can jump in. If I didn't get to watch any of these three, so if you guys want to jump in and anything of note, but Michigan beat Northwestern in overtime, 80-76. Memphis won 77-68 against Charlotte, and TCU went on the road and got a 74-71 win against Baylor. So those are the last three notable results of the weekend. But yeah, if any of you want just and also I'd skip Maryland, Nebraska. Maryland got a home win 69-66
Mhm.
against Nebraska. So 4 games there. If any of you want to add anything to any of those four, you can. Otherwise, I don't
I,
really have anything to say about any of them.
I do Michigan and Northwestern. There's some controversial calls in that one as well. I know Northwestern's coach Chris Collins had a lot to say about Vlad Golden.
He always does.
He said he said he'll have an incredible acting career. There was a controversial ejection in the game on Jalen Leach. It was a close game down the stretch. Northwestern led a lot. Vlad Golden had a great game, but that was kind of marred by that ejection. I'm not sure in the game when it happened. I just know. Let's see, was it? We'll look for where it was. It was somewhere. It was probably in regulation, I think. Let's see, foul on Jalen Leach. Yeah, but there's just controversy surrounding that game. Michigan continues to be a contender, and Nebraska continues to fall apart, as well as Baylor in those two other games. Both of them have to figure out what's going on with their season right now. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, those games were more competitive than what I thought they would be. I thought Michigan would actually make quick work of Northwestern. They did not. And then I thought Maryland would make quick work of Nebraska. They did not. So, yeah, today it was a little surprising. And then Baylor at home with all the students back now, not a good showing. They got some serious issues. I've been told depth is a huge issue with their team, but
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that one too.
Yeah, they got bigger issues than the depth. The guards do not really defend well, and they're not really shooting particularly well either. VJ Edgecombe, who's projected top 5 pick, has not given them nearly enough. Norchad Omier from Miami was part of that team that went to the Final Four. He's been worth every dime they paid him in NIL, but the rest of those guys, they're struggling. So Scott Drew's a good coach. They'll probably figure it out. But yeah, today was not a good showing. And it's a big rivalry for them there against TCU. And yeah, so they're going to have some issues to figure out here going forward. Primarily just in running their offense. And yeah, how that's going to work. It's been through Omier so far. But yeah, they're just going to need way more supplemental scoring there from the guards.
Looking ahead, yeah, I was just bouncing through this week. Looks like a lot of shit this week. Not a lot. I mean, I'm sure we'll see some upsets in and out, but the only big like top 25 versus top 25 matchup of the week that jumps off the page is Tennessee Mississippi State play on Tuesday. Yeah, no, like I said, it looks like a lot of shit this week. I don't. Nova and Marquette play on Thursday, so that should be an interesting one. Michigan and Purdue also play on
Yeah,
Thursday, so I
that'll
guess
be a
that's
big
another
one.
good one. Scrolled past that one and missed it. Other than those three, those look like the three big ticket. Oh, and Texas. Okay, another one I missed. Texas A&M and Ole Miss also play on Tuesday, so that'll be a good one. Battle of top 25 teams. Um, yeah. Other than that, yeah, doesn't look like a ton of big stuff to look forward to. I guess other than those four, if any, is there anything you're looking to this week before we're back on here on Friday that I didn't mention other than those four games?
Not really.
Nothing in particular during the week. Some decent mid-major games, but besides that, yeah.
All right. Also, you mentioned mid-major games. I did St. Mary's plays San Francisco. I believe that's Wednesday night. That should be an interesting one because, like I said, St. Mary's has been beating the shit out of teams, so they're going to get tested now. That's at home for St. Mary's, so if they can do it against San Francisco, then they get the stamp of approval. But other than that,
Big.
we'll call it a
Yep.
wrap. What'd you say?
Okay. I was gonna say one of the mid-major games in SoCon play. Sanford plays Chattanooga Thursday night. That'll be for the upper echelon of the SoCon.
All right. Well, any closing thoughts before we call it a wrap for the night?
I think we had a good weekend of college basketball.
We did. It didn't look like the best slate, but you're always going to get some. You're always going to get some fun, even when it doesn't look like the most exciting slate.
Never disappoints. Yeah.
War Eagle. That's all I gotta say.
Boiler up.
It's a fun time. We got game day coming to town Saturday. I want to go, but the cheapest ticket right now is like $500. So, not feeling optimistic about my chances of getting in the building there. But that's gonna be a fun game this weekend. But we'll be back here Friday to preview some of the games this weekend. But yeah, other than that, we'll go ahead and call it a night. Appreciate you guys hopping on here. Like I said, we'll be back Friday. We'll set a time for that, tweet it out. Please, if you're watching on Twitter right now, I see 48 people watching. I assume most of those are on Twitter. We're going off the Left Turn Cold account for now because our goal is to get enough people over to YouTube that we can have a little bit of an audience over there and move them over. So please, especially if you're watching on Twitter, subscribe, Sectator Media, subscribe, like this, set reminders for when we go live. Like I said, we're going to be trying Friday, Sunday. Check it out if you enjoy what you're hearing here, and just thank you everybody for listening. Like I said, 48 people. I'm impressed that on a Sunday night at what are we looking at? 11:33, almost midnight, that we have 48 people listening to us ramble here about college basketball. So thank you everybody for that. And yeah, we'll call that a stream. Thank you, college basketball, for existing.
Good night. Y'all have a good night. See you next time.